A New York landlord goes over exactly why good cause eviction protections do not work. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's an article that was written by a landlord giving their opinion of, just the whole issues that they are going to go through if good cause eviction protections are passed, right? They talk about tenants that they personally had in their units who they decided not to renew their lease, and exactly why they decided not to renew those leases. Okay, so these are situations that are not covered by good cause eviction regulations, right? So when you hear about good cause, they're like, oh, well, if the tenant is paying their rent on time, there's no reason for the landlord to evict them. Well, yes, there are. There are a lot of good reasons. I've explained, a couple of, scenarios that I've just kind of made up out of my head, right? But in this story, this landlord's actually going over scenarios that he has actually experienced. And that's why I wanted to bring this article to you. So, when I talk about good cause eviction protections, it really isn't an eviction, okay? Not the way that we think of a regular eviction. No, what it really is the landlord deciding not to renew the tenant's lease. Now, just because some bureaucrat somewhere thinks that's an eviction and calls it an eviction, that's not actually true. Okay, we have a contract where we say, okay, I'm going to rent this unit to you for X period of time, and you agree to pay X amount of money, right? And at the end of that contract, there's no obligation by me as a landlord, at least there shouldn't be, to immediately sign another contract and allow you to stay, or to keep the rents the same. Okay, but that is what good cause eviction does. It makes landlords be forced to renew your lease, even if you're a problem and we need to get rid of you. So, this is absolutely one of the issues that I think is going to be faced by landlords throughout the entire country. They are passing these good cause eviction laws, even here in the Midwest, even in the South, even in generally landlord-friendly places, okay? But we can fight it. We can still fight it. And, obviously, I think that the best place to fight it is within your state government, because the smaller local governments are trying to pass these ridiculous laws and we need to basically override them. So my suggestion is, if you're going to fight this, then fight it at the state level at least, okay? So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, and leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. So if you have any personal experience with tenants that you did not renew their lease on that wouldn't fall under most good cause eviction laws, okay, then I'd like to hear that story. So obviously the number one reason for actual evictions is non-payment of rent, right? But what's another reason why you might not have renewed the lease of a tenant? If you mind share, don't mind sharing, and maybe I'll make a video kind of going over some of these stories. So anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from the Ithaca Times, and it says, guest opinion against good cause eviction. Yep. So obviously this is from a landlord. Let's see what a fellow landlord says here. I've been a landlord for 10 years, and I manage 41 residential and commercial office units in Tompkins County. About 2/3 of these are low or moderate income residential. I currently employ 3 full-time staff. I became a landlord because I wanted to work on converting existing buildings to not use fossil fuels. I made the capital in the first place in the tech industry, not by real estate investing. I also have significant bank financing. When I started, I greatly underestimated the challenges of being a landlord and have been in an intense learning process. I only work on the rental business part-time myself, as I still do some technology consulting to support myself. So this person is very similar to myself, okay? Works a full-time job in a non-real estate investing industry, okay? Owns a lot of units by normal standards, but really when it comes to the grand scheme of things, 41 units isn't that many compared to the really big corporate landlords, okay? Works part-time, has employees. I don't have employees. I use property management companies, and but I'm saying that I understand. You know, I've been investing for over 10 years as well. And so we're on a very similar level when it comes to where we are in terms of being real estate investors and landlords. Okay. So, you know, this person knows what they're talking about. Okay. That's what I'm trying to get at. Okay. So it should be listened. You know, you think that people would listen to the landlords who've been doing this for a while, who have a large number of units. And, you know, like him, I also work primarily with moderate to low income tenants. Okay. But anyway, let me continue. It's important to understand that rental housing is a market. As such, our prices are closely governed by supply and demand. For any given property location that we can charge is heavily constrained by market forces. If we try to charge $100 a month too much for a given unit, we'll be doing showing after showing without renting it because tenants can find something they like better for the same price or something cheaper that they like equally well. Only when we have priced a given unit correctly can we rent it with a reasonable level of effort. By the same token, we also cannot charge substantially under the current market. We have to pay current market wages for competent staff, pay property taxes, service our debt, and pay current market rates for specialized contractors, repairs, and maintenance materials. If we don't charge enough, we won't be able to keep up on all these obligations. I found this out the hard way when we failed to raise rent sufficiently in the recent inflation boom and fell behind on property taxes as a result. Basically, what he is saying is that the market is the true thing that controls how much prices are. Okay, the government can't come in there and say, oh, well, you only need $1,000 a month for this unit when based our what we charge is based not just upon expenses but upon what the market can bear. Okay, so people, they think that we're coming in there and we're greedy and we could just raise the rent on tenants to whatever we want just to gouge them. No, we can't. Okay, we can only charge what the market can bear. Simply put, if you ask too much for your rental unit, nobody will rent it, and they'll go down the street to the rental units that are priced correctly and they will rent from them instead. Okay, that is the way the market works. Checks and balances. Okay, we can't charge too high, but because of our expenses we can't charge too low either. And believe it or not, we deserve to make a profit based on a very, very large investment. We are literally investing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and in some cases millions of dollars into a property, and you don't think we deserve to make a profit? Hey, it is not easy to make that much money to invest it, and then you tell me I can't make any money off of it. Give me a break, okay? So let me get into the next part where he talks about, you know, the tenants, okay? The tenants that he had in his unit that he decided not to renew, and why the good cause eviction protections it's a very flawed regulation, okay? It's a very flawed regulation because it doesn't take into consideration anything other than assuming that every tenant is a little angel, and that's just not the case, okay? It says, turning to the question of non-renewals, I estimate about 95% of our tenants are great, pay their rent, and cause no major issue to us or anyone else. However, it's difficult with our market focus on low and moderate income tenants to bat 100, and we don't. Some of our tenants turn into major problems and end up being non-renewed. We do about 0 to 2 non-renewals of tenants each year. Here are some of the reasons we have non-renewed tenants in the past. And I agree, okay? I am the same, 95% of my tenants are great. But that 5%, like even out of the 5%, most of them, I can, they will just leave on their own when they find out they're going to be evicted, okay? Or if I have a major issue and it looks like I'm not going to renew, there's no issues whatsoever. But there's a very small percentage where you have to go through the full eviction process. And those are the absolute worst. And even after you evict them, they trash your property. Okay, it's a very small percentage of tenants that do this, but this has happened to me multiple times throughout the years. Okay, so anyway, let's get on to his stories of the tenants that he decided not to renew. A tenant discharged a firearm in the unit, resulting in a standoff with police and, after extensive negotiation by us, an arrest. Tenant later turned out to be a drug dealer. Wow. Yeah, I couldn't even imagine that, right? But turns out that, hey, the tenant was paying the rent the whole time, but, shoots a gun off in the unit and ends up getting arrested. And guess what? We're not renewing your lease, okay? That's a big problem. I'm not going to renew your lease either. Tenant never took out their garbage, but stored it all inside the unit for well over a year, causing appalling conditions and extensive damage to the apartment. Yeah, that's, oh my God, I remember one of my evictions that I had where they basically did something very similar. The place was filled with garbage, okay? Cost quite a bit to get that place cleaned up. I could imagine, but that's another good reason not to renew. That might not be covered by one of the exemptions or one of the exceptions that they allow for the good cause eviction protections. A tenant left garbage all over the yard of a multifamily property and failed to clean it up despite numerous requests. Also verbally aggressive and threatening with her neighbors who complained to her. So, yeah, that is a major issue. Somebody threatening the other tenants in your building, okay? Scaring the other tenants in your building away. That's hurting your profit margin. Doesn't matter if they pay the rent or not, or if they're, completing, all the everything that you requested within the lease. If the other tenants are threatened by this person and talking about they're going to leave because of this person, well, that person is losing you money. You have to get rid of them. Okay, so you're going to say, okay, that's a good reason for non-renewal. And then rent arrears. That's obvious. Obviously rent arrears is going to be a good reason not to renew the lease to somebody, and a reason why you don't have to go through the eviction process. You could just be like, all right, well, you're done. You owe me money. You're done. Okay. Tenant's boyfriend was dealing drugs, which was discovered when the police broke down the door in a dawn raid. Multiple neighbor complaints that a tenant was constantly screaming at her kids in an upsetting way and also engaging in prostitution. So yeah, a lot of really good reasons why this landlord decided not to renew these leases. Okay. Now, obviously, all of this stuff is not going to be covered within a law. And having to take a person to court to explain to a judge, hey, yeah, this person was shooting a gun off in my unit. Remember, a lot of the times it's going to cost you money to be able to take somebody to eviction court to explain to the judge, because you might have to hire a lawyer, or if nothing else, you're going to have to take time out of your busy schedule versus you just saying, okay, I'm not renewing, you got to go. Okay, so yeah, good cause eviction is only going to hurt landlords, okay? In particular, smaller landlords. I know everyone, 41 units, this guy is still a small landlord, okay? And, I stand behind small landlords in particular, but because most of these laws and regulations are attacking both big and small landlords, then, I feel like we should step up and, basically work together in order to make sure that this stuff is, not passed. Okay. So yeah, that's why I say, I'll step up with these big corporate landlords and be like, yeah, I'm on your side because they want to hurt both of us. Okay. So anyway, I'll put a link to this article in the description below. Let me know what you think of this whole situation here. Does this guy have a point? Or are you on the other side and think that, oh, no, the tenants, they deserve these protections?